Exhortation. Memorandum, date April 6th, to staff. From Todd Burney, Divisional Director, RE, March Performance Stats. I would not like to characterize this as a plea, although it may start to sound like one. The fact is, we have a job to do. We have tacitly agreed to do it. Did you cash your last paycheck? I know I did. Ha ha ha. We have also, to go a step further here, agreed to do the job well. Now, we all know that one way to do a job poorly is to be negative about it. Say we need to clean a shelf. Let's use that example. If we spend the hour before the shelf cleaning talking down the process of cleaning the shelf, complaining about it, dreading it, investigating the moral niceties of cleaning the shelf, whatever, then what happens is we make the process of cleaning the shelf more difficult than it really is. We all know very well that that shelf is going to be cleaned given the current climate, either by you or the guy who replaces you and gets your paycheck. So the question boils down to, do I want to clean it happy or do I want to clean it sad? Which would be more effective? For me, which would accomplish my purpose more efficiently? What is my purpose? To get paid. How do I accomplish that purpose most efficiently? I clean that shelf well and clean it quickly. And what mental state helps me clean that shelf well and quickly? Is the answer negative? A negative mental state? You know very well that it is not. So the point of this memo is positive. The positive mental state will help you clean that shelf well and quickly, thus accomplishing your purpose of getting paid. What am I saying? Am I saying whistle while you work? Maybe I am. Let us consider lifting a heavy dead carcass such as a whale. Forgive the shelf whale thing. We have just come back from our place on Reston Island where there were, 1, a lot of dirty shelves, and 2, yes, believe it or not, an actual dead rotting whale, which Timmy and Vance and I got involved with in terms of the cleanup. So, say you're charged with, you and some of your colleagues, lifting a heavy dead whale carcass onto a flatbed. Now, we all know that is hard. And what would be harder is doing that with a negative attitude. What we found, Timmy and Vance and I, is that even with only a neutral attitude, you are talking a very hard task. We tried to lift that whale while we were just feeling neutral, Timmy and Vance and I, with a dozen or so other folks, and it was a no-go. That whale wouldn't budge. Until suddenly one fellow, a former Marine, said that what we needed was some mind over matter, and gathered us in a little circle, and we had a sort of chant. We got psyched up. We knew, to extend my above analogy, that we had a job to do, and got sort of excited about that, and decided to do it with a positive attitude. And I have to tell you, there was something to that. It was fun. Fun when that whale rose into the air, helped by us, and some big straps that Marine had in his van. And I have to say that lifting that dead, rotting whale onto that flatbed with that group of total strangers was the high point of our trip. So what am I saying? I am saying, and saying it fervently because it is important, let's try, if we can, to minimize the grumbling and self-doubt regarding the tasks we must sometimes do around here that maybe aren't on the surface all that pleasant. I'm saying, let's try not to dissect every single thing we do in terms of ultimate good, bad, and different in terms of morals. The time for that is long past. I hope that each of us had that conversation with ourselves nearly a year ago when this whole thing started. We have embarked on a path, and having embarked on that path, for the best of reasons, as we decided a year ago, wouldn't it be kind of suicidal to let our progress down that path be impeded by neurotic second-guessing? Have any of you ever swung a sledgehammer? I know that some of you have. I know that some of you did when we took out Rick's patio. Isn't it fun when you don't hold back, but just pound down and down, letting gravity help you? Fellows, what I'm saying is, let gravity help you here in our workplace situation. Pound down. Give in to the natural feelings that I have seen from time to time produce so much great energy in so many of you in terms of executing your given tasks with vigor and without second-guessing and neurotic thoughts. Remember that record-breaking week Andy had back in October when he doubled his usual number of units? Regardless of all else, forgetting for the moment all namby-pamby thoughts of right, wrong, etc., wasn't that something to see in and of itself? I think that if we each looked deep down inside of ourselves, weren't we all a little envious? God, he was really pounding down, and you could see the energetic joy on his face each time he rushed by us to get additional cleanup towels. And we were all just standing there like, wow, Andy, what's gotten into you? And no one can argue with his numbers. They are there in our break room for all to see, towering above the rest of our numbers. And though Andy has failed to duplicate those numbers in the months since October, 1, no one blames him for that. Those were miraculous numbers. And 2, I believe that even if Andy never again duplicates those numbers, he must still, somewhere in his heart, secretly treasure the memory of that magnificent energy flowing out of him that memorable October. I do not honestly think that Andy could have had such an October if he had been coddling himself or entertaining any doubtful neurotic thoughts or second-guessing tendencies. Do you? I don't. Andy looked totally focused, totally outside himself. You could see it on his face, maybe because of the new baby. If so, Janice should have a new baby every week. Ha ha. Anyway, October is how Andy entered a sort of, at least in my mind, de facto Hall of Fame and is pretty much henceforth excluded from any real close monitoring of his numbers, at least by me. No matter how disconsolate and sort of withdrawn he gets, and I think we've all noticed that he's gotten pretty disconsolate and withdrawn since October, you will not find me closely monitoring his numbers. Although, as for others, I cannot speak. Others may be monitoring that troubling fall off in Andy's numbers, although really, I hope they're not. That would not be so fair. And believe me, if I get wind of it, I will definitely let Andy know. And if Andy's too depressed to hear me, I'll call Janice at home. And in terms of why is Andy so disconsolate, my guess is that he's being neurotic and second-guessing his actions of October. And wow, wouldn't that be a shame? Wouldn't that be a no-win for Andy to have completed that record-breaking October and then sit around boo-hooing about it? Is anything being changed by that boo-hooing? Are the actions Andy did in terms of the tasks I gave him to do in room 6 being undone by his boo-hooing? Are his numbers on the break room wall miraculously scrolling downward? Are people suddenly walking out of room 6 feeling perfectly okay again? Well, we all know they are not. No one is walking out of room 6 feeling perfectly okay. Even you guys, you who do what must be done in room 6, don't walk out feeling so super great. I know that. I've certainly done some things in room 6 that didn't leave me feeling so wonderful, believe me. No one is trying to deny that room 6 can be a bummer. It is very hard work that we do. But the people above us who give us our assignments seem to think that the work we do in room 6, in addition to being hard, is also important, which I suspect is why they've begun watching our numbers so closely. And trust me, if you want room 6 to be an even worse bummer than it already is, then mope about it before, after, and during. Then it will really stink. Plus, with all the moping, your numbers will go down even further, which, guess what? They cannot do. I have been told in no uncertain terms at the sectional meeting that our numbers are not to go down any further. I said, and this took guts, believe me, given the atmosphere at sectional, look, my guys are tired. This is hard work we do, both physically and psychologically. And at that point, at sectional, believe me, the silence was deafening. I mean, deafening. And the looks I got were not good. And I was reminded in no uncertain terms by Hugh Blanchard himself that our numbers are not to go down. And I was asked to remind you, to remind us, all of us, myself included, that if we are unable to clean our assigned shelf, not only will someone else be brought in to clean that shelf, but we ourselves may find ourselves on that shelf, being that shelf, with someone else exerting themselves with good positive energy all over us. And at that time, I think you can imagine how regretful you would feel. The regret would show in your faces, as we sometimes witness in room 6, that regret on the faces of the shelves as they're cleaned. So I'm asking you from the hip to try your best to not end up a shelf, which we, your former colleagues, will have no choice but to clean, using all our positive energy without looking back at room 6. This was all made clear to me at sectional, and now I'm trying to make it clear to you. Well, I've gone on, but please, come by my office. Anybody who's having doubts about what we do, and I will show you pictures of that incredible whale my sons and I lifted with our good positive energy. And of course, this information, that is the information that you're having doubts and have come to see me in my office, will go no further than my office. Although I'm sure I do not even have to say that to any of you who have known me all these many years. All will be well, and all will be well, etc., etc. Todd.